A family limited partnership is typically utilized in agriculture to reduce income and transfer taxes, acting as the vehicle to distribute assets to family heirs while keeping control of the business. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us now to review formation considerations of an FLP. Thank you for joining us, and good morning, Roger. What are the key distinguishing characteristics of an FLP?
Hi, John. Good to be with you. There are some key ones, and I would, just to boil it down to you, for you, I think the key characteristics are that they're usually held, the interests in the entity are usually held by family members, or at least entities that are controlled by family members, including spouses and ancestors and lineal descendants and trusts that are set up to work on behalf of those family members.
How is an FLP formed then, Roger?
Well, we always want to look to the documents that form the entity, and so we need to have a good written agreement that establishes the rights and the duties of the parties, and we need to file all the necessary certificates and documents with the state and get all the necessary licenses and permits and get a federal ID number, operate or rather open new accounts in the FLP's name and transfer title to assets contribute to the FLP, and then amend any existing contracts to now reflect that it is the FLP that is the real party in interest that owns the assets that are in the entity. And, of course, then we have to file the annual federal, state, and local reports and maintain all the formalities of existence. So there's a lot of stuff that's involved when you form an FLP.
What are the important points to consider upon formation then?
Well, we've got to have a clear business purpose for forming the entity, or IRS is going to come in and claim that all we were doing was trying to obtain some tax benefits without a business purpose. And usually that's not too difficult to establish that we do have a good business purpose, for holding assets and consolidating farm and ranch assets and passing them down to the next generation. That's a good purpose. But we want to put only income-producing family business property or investment property in the entity. We don't want to put our personal assets in there, because that then gives the IRS an argument that, well, you're really not using this for business purposes. So if we do end up putting personal assets in the entity, then we want to make sure that we have a written lease agreement where if we continue to use them personally, it's pursuant to a lease, because we want to reflect that the entity actually owns the assets.
To help us better understand, do you have an example for us?
Well, sure. Let's say we've got the typical situation, again, as I mentioned, is between family members. Let's say we've got a husband and wife, and they've got kids, and there's at least some of the kids that want to continue the farming or the ranching operation. So typically what we would do in this situation is we would draft an FLP agreement that designates one of the parents as a general partner with a 1% ownership interest, and then the kids are designated as limited partners, each having a 33% limited partner interest. Now, this works really well, particularly after the death of the first spouse. So we have the surviving spouse that's the 1% general partner. The kids own the limited partner interest, so they're the investors. They get some income off of it. The land and the farm equipment and the livestock goes into the FLP. The kids put in cash that they have and any additional livestock and equipment. And then the parent, the surviving parent, then is going to gift the 99% of their interest to the kids. So we transition the ownership that way. And it may be, if we're talking high dollar values, it may be eligible for discounts as it passes from one generation to the next. So that's a very basic summary of how the FLP works. But it really works good as a good transition vehicle to move that farm and ranch property from one generation to the next.
Well, thank you for the explanation. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law. Thank you very much for joining us, Counselor.